Okay, I'm on YouTube and Facebook, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Nice summer day. I just got this jumpsuit today. It's like a potato sack, but boy, it's comfortable. It's like sitting in pajamas. Okay, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So what part of the world are you from? Where are you from? Indiana. I think I know where that is. Townsville, Australia. Never been there. I was in Australia for 20 years. Sydney and Brisbane. Never made it to Townsville. New Brunswick, Canada. Never been there. Wisconsin. Never been there. Utah. Never been there. I got to get out more. Tampa Bay, Florida. Never been there. Michigan. Okay, we can get going. Let me see. So I got a few people on Vancouver, Washington. Oh, the other Vancouver. I always thought Vancouver, Washington was really like a small town, but it's not. It's big. So, but yeah. And the funny thing is, I mean, there are two Vancouvers, one in Canada and one in the United States, but we're actually very close together too. It's really weird. Okay, so what was I going to say? New York. Anyway, New York. Whereabouts in New York? Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. So I'm just reading as I'm talking. Alabama, welcome. And anyway, if you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. And I admit I haven't been able to take on any new clients for a while, but I'm hoping to today. I'm hoping to get to that. Brunswick, Georgia. Hello. Anyway, and also I'd like to know, what are your, I'm working on something. I can't say what it is quite yet, but what are your toddler challenges? Like, what are the big questions that you would have with toddlers? So I'm just curious. Buffalo area. Oh, okay, Buffalo. Excellent. Okay, so how to deal with hitting. Okay, so just a second. I'm going to write that down here. Yeah, because I'm working on something. Okay, so if it's toddlers hitting, is it toddlers hitting or older kids? And St. Pete, Florida. Welcome. I am working on something with toddler stuff, and that's under the age of 3. So I was just like 1 and 2 year olds. I'd like to know what questions you'd like answered, like in this project I'm working on right now. So 3 years old and hitting. Get the behavior board and put no hitting as the rule. And then there's a consequence if they hit. The reason why it's different from 2 to 3 years old is by the time they hit 3, they can stop and think before they act. Under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions. They're right in the moment, and they don't really have that impulse control yet. It might be 2 and 9 months or 3 and 3 months, but I've cut it off at 3, you know. I mean, you got to cut it off somewhere, right? Challenge, getting dressed, putting on nappies. Yeah, absolutely. Getting dressed. Nappy changing. Sorry, I raised my kids in Australia, so I have a hard time changing over to diaper because we call them nappies there. That's where I raised my kids in Australia, so all of my baby terms are Australian. Running around laughing, it's time to get ready to go out. Is that you or the kids? Oh, I thought that was funny. It's weird because when I say something I think's funny, no one ever laughs, or if they are, I don't hear them. So it's kind of feel like a loser. Oh, never mind. Okay, Australia, welcome. Yeah, my son was born in Sydney, Nepean Hospital, and my daughter was born at Wesley in Brisbane, the Wesley Hospital, and that's where I raised my kids. Definitely not me. So you're not the one running around laughing. How to help them develop health. Oh, geez. That's an interesting one. Develop health habits. Well, I can tell you that right now. You have total control over what they do and what they eat. And as they're growing, they're not listening to you, they're watching you. So if you're healthy, they tend to be. So yeah, both my kids are into working out. My daughter's got a nutritional, a holistic nutritionist degree, and we all love working out. So yeah, because they grew up seeing me do that, right? So, but that's a good one though. I'll put that in. You crack me up. Oh, good. Thank God I'm not the only one. I crack me up too. See, I thought that was funny. Oh God, I got a lot of toddler in me. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit punchy. I've been laid up with back pain for 2-3 days. So if I haven't answered emails, or I've just been laid up. So it's even hard sitting here. So hopefully I haven't been to the gym in 2 days. That's like almost a record. Okay. This is from Kathy Parks on YouTube in Vancouver, Washington. I've been working hard on leadership with my 12-year-old son. He's amping up his bad behavior. They often get worse before they get better because they sense that you're trying to sort of take control. So they'll often challenge you for that role. I'm giving him chores and making him do nice things when saying mean things about me. That's the attitude department. I don't know about that. It could work, but this morning was really bad before church and a tantrum yelling on the way in the car. I pulled over and filed my name. Is there anything else I can do? Have you got the boot camp course? Because do you have a rule? What's your rule? And has he had a say in it? As they get older, I like them to have a say in what your rule and your consequence is. And also that's sort of in the attitude department. And yeah, I don't know, because he's 12. I don't know. You might want to check out the boot camp course. That actually can go into almost 14 years old, but I've capped it at 12, just because it applies to all 12-year-olds. But if they're really mature, 13 and 14-year-olds, it might not apply to them. I haven't done the boot camp. You might want to check that out because you can take snippets and sort of glean things from what I say or from the free behavior board. But the boot camp course is just next level. It's more inclusive, and it's 5 weeks, and you start slow and you build up. And but yeah, as they get older, it gets harder, no doubt. And some kids are just more challenging than others. Okay, you got to put an age, Courtney. I need an age. Like, are they 15 or 5 or 2? Makes a difference. By the way, I am working on something with toddlers. I know I've been asked about toddlers a lot. And so I don't want to say what it is yet, but I am working on something. So I'd like to know, what are your big challenges with toddlers? I won't necessarily be able to answer it here, but it will go in this project I'm working on, or it will probably be included because I realize I have to address the toddler stuff. Yeah, so it's by far my biggest followers are asking about toddlers, but in coaching, it's older kids and teenagers usually. I have 2 kids with disabilities. This is Galen, ASD, that's autism spectrum disorder, and ADHD. 11 and 13. The youngest suffers from trauma from surgery every 6 months. Okay, that would be coaching. It's more of a specialty, and I don't discuss autism anywhere but in coaching. So if you're interested in signing up to work with me one-on-one, I do have an intake form on my website. You can check out the link above, look up coaching if you're interested in working with me. Otherwise, just check out the behavior board. That's completely free, and it works with all kids. Kids with ASD, it's more of a specialty because they do have some special challenges. They're often really sensitive about certain things and kind of oblivious to others. So, and I don't know what they are, and I don't know where on the spectrum they are either. Are they verbal or, not? So, yeah. And when they have to go through trauma like surgery, that would have to be coaching. Okay. And then you said she's 2, but I don't remember what the question is. You have to put it all together because I lose track. Toilet training. Oh, that will be in there for sure. Hitting will be in there for sure. Yeah. In what I'm working on with toddlers, those are 2 things that for sure are in there. Went to the toilet 6 times in 24 hours and now doesn't want to go. Yeah, have you taken the the potty training course? Yeah, because it's a whole procedure. Yeah. Like, I don't know how old they are and what the situation is if you've gone through the whole potty training thing. How to stop my 4-year-old from hitting and being really rude. The rude is more of an attitude thing. Unless they're swearing or name calling, you can't put it on the behavior board. Check out my free behavior board and put no hitting as your 4-year-old's rule. And when he or she hits, there's a consequence. Okay, that's how we all learn. That's how life is. If we don't pay our taxes, we could go to jail. If we don't pay our mortgage, we could have our home foreclosed on. If we speed, we might get a ticket. It's accountability that keeps us accountable. Like there's got to be a consequence, right? So that's what you do for your children. Teach them how to function in the real world. If you don't teach your children how to be accountable, when they grow up, they're going to be self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I got a lot of backlash on that, so I'm going to keep saying it. I love it when I get backlash. Plus, I don't see my comments or messages. I just haven't got the time. I'm struggling to keep up with emails. But yeah, my daughter sometimes looks at them and she goes, "Oh my God, everyone hates that self-entitled snowflake with mental health issues." So I'm going to keep saying it. It's how I get my point across. I may be exaggerating just a tad. 10-year-old who is argumentative about anything and everything. That's the right fighter. That's usually a learned behavior. It usually comes from the parents. Not always, but it usually does. So that's right fighting. Right fighting is a very ugly quality. I used to have it. I used to be a right fighter. I'm not anymore. I can walk away from it. I can just let someone think they've won because I couldn't be bothered anymore. But yeah, I used to be a right fighter. It comes from being young or immature or insecure. And generally, if you're a leader, you don't tend to have that quality as much. I mean, the kids don't tend to have that quality as much. But yeah, are you a right fighter? Or do you admit when you're wrong? If you admit when you're wrong and there's no big deal, like just say, yeah, I messed up. Here's the consequence. I'll do this. And then they're less likely to be right fighters. Oh, 2-year-old pitching to the point of knocking us down. If they're 2 years old, you should be able to physically restrain them. So yeah, I don't know how to address that. If they're 2, you should be able to physically stand your ground and physically restrain them. So if they're getting physical, if they're getting violent, you physically restrain them. You still don't look at them or talk to them though. It's just part of it. They're just nuts when they're 2. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, this is under the age of 3, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They look at you differently when you get good at this. Number 3 is when you want to discipline a toddler, they are in the moment, in the present moment. So you use consistent corrective actions, not words. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. These mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions, it's absolute garbage. It's there to make the mom feel good about herself. It's the same stuff as when you get down on their level, eye contact, and you say, use your words. That is so patronizing. I don't know who invented that, but anyway, it's all in the same department. That's all in the, you're expecting them to find their inner adult, which is very disrespectful to a 2-year-old. Okay, so you use consistent corrective actions because that is in their world, and it takes repetition. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in here. They're just forming. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they're just brand new. So don't expect too much. Okay, I'm just going to say this again. I am working on something. And for toddlers, parents of toddlers. So I know all the standard stuff, potty training, hitting, fussy eating, all that stuff. If you can think of anything unusual that you've gone through with toddlers, I'd love to include it in this thing I'm working on. Outside of, like someone said, develop healthy habits. How do you teach a toddler to develop healthy habits? I wouldn't have put that in. I wouldn't have thought of that. So that's one of those ones that, I wouldn't have thought of that. But if you think it's something I might not have thought to include in what I'm working on, then I'd love to hear it. Might be done, I don't know when, maybe in a month or so. Okay, I feel like my husband and I were both raised differently and we parent differently, and it causes problems for the child. The thing is, if you're not, it says to me that neither one of you are really successful with the parenting, because if you were, the other one usually quite happily goes, oh, you got this. Like that's what my ex did. That's sort of what my dad did with my mom. My mom was better at disciplining. So it sort of says to me that maybe nothing's working. So you might want to try my methods for, I would say 3 to 5 weeks, see how it goes. And then you should get on the same page when you start to see successes. It's the successes that get you on the same page. So check out the boot camp course if your kids are 3 to 12 years old. Dan said, right? What 2-year-old knocks you over? Talk about snowflakes. No. There's no shaming here. That's not very nice. I should talk about bullying. If you're not ready for it, a 2-year-old could knock you over, but be ready for it. If you know your toddler's going to do that, be ready for it. Okay, this is more of a specialty, and I don't address fostering. I sort of do. Some of my clients are foster parents. I'm fostering a 3-year-old. She's terrified of being left alone. That's the fear of abandonment because she's probably got some trauma. That would be coaching. Yeah, because it's more of a specialty, and I would have to figure that out. It's probably fear of abandonment. Who knows what's happened to her, eh? Or you might know, but even then, she's only 3. No one ever gets the full story with these kids. Yeah, I am working on something for parents of toddlers. I know I've been asked about this for years now. And I do have my boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. I'm working on something for 1 and 2-year-olds. And, but yeah, I'm finally going to get that done. Oh gosh, sorry, sore arm, just ache everywhere today for some reason. Yeah, you're asking me about how to get your husband to stop doing or whatever. I'm not a marriage counselor, but usually when I'm working with people, I say, well, you've paid all this money to work with me. So just both of you, or just give in to the one who wants to go along with, who wanted to hire me and wants to go along with it. You've got to be on the same page. But you can even flip a coin and decide which parenting method to go with. Give it 3 or 5 weeks. If it doesn't work, then the other parent has a go. So. By the way, that being extra hard on kids, the authority style stuff, it works in the short term, but not necessarily in the long term. Kids often rebel against that, quite young too, but certainly in the teen years, they usually rebel. And you don't want that. When you're a leader, they never rebel because there's nothing to rebel against. Like my son said, he was 15. He says, I could never rebel. And he was kind of resentful when he said this. He said, because all his friends were rebelling and he couldn't. And he says, I could never even rebel. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. So yeah, sorry about that, sweetie. Oh, well. Yeah, they don't rebel against leaders. There's nothing to rebel against. What do you mean, my rule? Oh, that's Kathy on YouTube. Your rule, you look at the behavior board. It's completely free. There's a rule and a consequence for every member of the family. I teach leadership. Leaders lead by example. You have to have a rule and a punishment. If you yell, you have to do something for the kids. There has to be a consequence. Why on earth should it just be for the kids? Parents mess up all the time and there's no consequence. Does that make any sense? None. I can't even figure that out. I couldn't even understand that. So you're allowed to do whatever you want with no consequences. Won't the kids resent you? Aren't they going to rebel? I would think so. I would. Do you have live chats like this on teenagers? This is teenage stuff too. I do specialize in teenagers. It's just most people who ask questions have toddlers. If you have a question about teenagers, that's my specialty. I started my business doing teen crisis work like 17 years ago. So yeah, teenagers are my favorite. And a huge portion of my clients right now have teenagers. I usually, I'll be honest, I do favor the teenage clients because I know I'm kind of like their last ditch approach. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and usually their problems are bigger. So I do, with coaching, I do tend to favor the teen parents, for sure, because the problems are usually a lot bigger. Plus, I've got the course. If you have 3 to 12-year-olds, I've got that course for you. I don't have anything but coaching for teenagers. And I've got mini courses for toddlers, and I've got something else coming too for toddlers. But anyway, yeah, but ask away if you've got a teenager. I can't always answer stuff with teenagers. It's usually more involved. It's usually coaching, but I can give you my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. It used to be 3, but I added 1. Number 3 is new. This is my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Okay, you negotiate pretty much everything. It's not a blanket statement, but it goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? In other words, give and take. You're building reciprocity and respect with your teenager. Number 3 is, this is the one I just added. You don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. A lot of parents of teenagers do this, and they're resentful, they're angry because of all the stuff their teenagers have done and said in the past. So they start enjoying their kids, because that's what I teach, is how to connect with your teenagers. So they start connecting and they're sitting playing video games, and then the parents use that opportunity to talk about the last 2 years when their teenager put them through hell. Oh, big mistake. They will shut you out. Huge mistake. So don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. Okay, don't do it. Don't do it. There's no point talking about the bad times. Anyway. And number 4, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say something like this. Hey, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. It's okay to make mistakes. You might even say, you want to hear what I did this morning? We all make mistakes. We're all human. You've got to allow them to make mistakes and learn from them. You're just there for the big stuff. Don't micromanage the small stuff. Okay, I got to get going. I'm going to be moving over to Instagram now, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. If you want to join me on Instagram, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching right now. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm hopping over to Instagram now. Bye now. Yeah, this is Kathy. Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks. I used to yell. I have stopped and now using a soft voice. If I do yell, I do 10 minutes of something the other wants. Yeah, you gotta be accountable. You gotta show them how it's done. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. Well, they're listening when they're teenagers, but they're tuning you out. They're watching you. Like they do as you do, not as you say. Okay, I'm on Instagram now. Welcome to my live. I'm Lisa Bunnage, and I'm a parenting coach. I look like I forgot what I was. And what do I do? Oh yeah, I'm a parenting coach. So I'm punchy today. I've just been laid up with back pain all weekend. So if I haven't been answering emails or whatever, that's why. So I'm a little bit punchy. So anyway, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching. Anyway. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. Hello from Massachusetts, I'm assuming. Can children older than 8 work with your sleep program? No. I mean, 8, it's sort of a gray area. Is it 7? Is it 9? So possibly, but no, I wouldn't keep putting them back to bed. I would just say, if you don't go to bed, there's a consequence. The next day, there's no media or something. Or if you go to bed and stay there tonight, then you can have media tomorrow. So use it like an incentive program or something. But yeah, kind of wouldn't do that walking back to bed. I do have a bedtime battles course, and it's 2 to 8 years old. They have to be mobile, but past the age of 8, it's kind of not as appropriate. This is a tell. My son likes to take advantage of situations when we are out in public. That says to me that you're a different parent when you're out in public. I was the exact same mother no matter where we were. So my kids would never have been any different because they knew I was no different. So it's a tell. It means you're embarrassed to discipline when you're out. Okay. Yeah, I was proud of it. I was like, watch everybody. This is how it's done. So yeah, that's a tell. Can the leader still have more influence than the same-sex parent? Well, the leader is the leader. I mean, the leader, doesn't matter if it's the father, the mother, or sometimes there's 2 moms and 2 dads, and doesn't matter. The leader is the leader, and that's the one that either sex will go to and tell everything to. Yeah, both of them, right through the teen years. They tell the leader everything. So doesn't matter what you are, man, woman. Yeah, wondering if there's an age that are too old to be a leader to your kids once your kids turn 15. No, and I'll tell you why. When they're little, they want to please you up until about the age of 12. When they hit 13 and above, they're becoming teenagers. You want them to want to please themselves, but not disappoint you. So your approval or whatever means a lot to them. Okay. It still means a lot. So that's the difference. You can very much still be a leader with the big stuff, but let them manage the little stuff as they get older. Yeah. I could go on and on about that, but yeah, you can absolutely be a leader. And I need an age. If you're going to ask a question, put the age in with the question. Don't put it separately because I won't know what you asked. My 7-year-old gets angry easily. That's a bit of a tell generally. It means you're not a leader. Because if they have a leader for a parent, it tends to calm them down. They don't tend to have volatile emotions because they feel like that you're taking care of business, basically. And they know if they're upset about something, they can go and talk to you about it. And you'll probably help them through it. Okay, it's a trust thing. It calms them down. So yeah, check out the boot camp course. That might help. How do I help them calm down? Does not like breathing, likes being left. Yeah, no, I don't do anything like that. Yeah, I'm a leader and it calms them down. So yeah, they feel taken care of. They can tell you anything and you're going to help them solve problems. You're not going to solve their problems for them. You're going to help them solve problems. So Massachusetts, my gut reaction was you were at Mass, like in church. And then I realized it was Massachusetts. Okay. Oh, you're gonna hate my answer. What method of educating my 2-year-old child with words and manners when there's no communication at all from the co-parent? The child cannot sync the words learned. Okay, you're expecting too much from a 2-year-old. Don't rush things. Just play with them and correct them when they do something naughty. Okay, but yeah, don't rush stuff. Okay, it sounds like you're expecting too much. Just have fun with. Work on your connection with your toddler. Play with them in their world. Find your inner silly, because fun is their love language. And when you're the fun parent, they tend to look to you more than the other one. And I mean fun, you also discipline too, though. You don't take any crap. Yeah. They learn. They just do. But they're still going to make a lot of mistakes when they're really little. Okay. So when they hit about 3.5 is when they just are self-disciplining. So I'm going to, oh goodness, I've got a lot of questions. I'm skipping ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. My son is almost 3 and he is biting and hitting. Also, okay, so they get violent. I have a course on that if you're interested. Check out my mini toddler course on toddlers who hit, bite, etc. Now, if they do that during a tantrum, that's the tantrum course. If they do it just to be mean to get their own way, that's the toddlers who hit course. It's a different method. Okay. 4-year-old will not respect my authority. Well, I don't talk like that. He has 3 older siblings that have always respected my authority. Yeah, that's the authority style parenting. I don't teach that. I don't know. You've just got one that's more feisty. That's all. It doesn't mean they're the black sheep. Maybe they're the ones who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Oftentimes it's the strongest ones, the feistiest ones who turn out being the most aggressive with careers and being, very successful down the road. So they might just have a bit more kick in them. Not physically, but or maybe physically too. But yeah, so check out my boot camp course, or at least my free behavior board teaches you how to be a leader. Yeah, I don't go down the authority path at all. Yeah. You might sort of be talking about leadership, but I don't like the word authority. And I also don't like obedience. Like, you don't want obedient soldiers here. You want children who are self-disciplining. They make good choices. Yeah, it's a bit different. Five and 3-year-old consequences for tantrum when it's time to turn this. Okay, we don't punish a tantrum. We ignore a tantrum. So turn up. Well, for one thing, if you have the TV going, you say, well, as soon as the show's over, it's going to go off. Or when this timer goes, it's going to go off. So they have a little bit of an idea when it's going to be turned off, rather than just saying, okay, it's off now. And then once they start losing it, who cares? Like, that's up to them. I always say that their tantrum is none of your business. That's their business. It's in their headspace. They have to learn how to get themselves out of it, because you're not feeding it. You're not giving it any attention, and you're not getting upset. Getting upset is actually feeding a tantrum. So I've got tons of videos on tantrums. If you just look up Bratbusters tantrums, I'll have a ton of videos on that. Yeah. I just don't always have the energy to say the same stories over and over again. I got two stories I tell all the time about tantrums, the swing one and the mall one. But yeah, it's just how you ignore effectively. Okay to send a kid to their room and having a tantrum? Nope, that's time out. I don't do that. I think it's mean. No, I want them to see me standing there ignoring them. It's important that they see you like this, looking out at the trees, whatever. And you want to look like you're waiting for you. I'll be filing my nails or something. Don't go on a phone and don't get into a conversation with someone. I think that's rude. It's dismissive. You look like you're waiting for the tantrum to end and you're ignoring them completely. As soon as it's done, oh, you all done? You want to read a book? That's how it's done. You never discuss a tantrum before, during, or after. Never. What's the point? What is the point? None. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. You do not need to validate that. They will eventually learn. We've been using the timer, but it doesn't help the tantrum. You don't use timers with tantrums. I don't understand that. You don't time a tantrum. Yeah, I don't understand that. And why are you trying to stop tantrums? This is what a lot of parents, how do we stop a tantrum? Why would you want to? That's their brain processing. They're not going to get their own way every time. Why would you want to stop that lesson from being learned? Let them play it out. Let their brain play it out. Hey, wait a minute. This is never going to work. They'll eventually put the pieces together. They'll put the puzzle together and figure it out. And they'll just stop having tantrums. Yeah, you don't stop tantrums. That means you're afraid of your children. Allow them to process a whole tantrum all by themselves. All by themselves. They have to learn how to have one and get out of it. Don't interfere in that process or you're messing it up. You become part of the problem. Be part of the solution. I say you ignore the crazy, which is the tantrum, then you reward the calm just with attention. Oh, you want to read a book? Something like that. Parents are very busy trying to avoid all this bad behavior. I would never do that. Allow them to do what they're going to do, and then you come in with a consequence, or if they're having a tantrum, you ignore it. Don't try and stop them from doing something. That's called micromanagement, and it's useless. It means you're afraid of them too. Like it's like that 8-year-old kid when I first met him, and he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said, bring it on. And he never did. He thought, ooh, she knows what she's doing. I had no fear of that fit. I was kind of disappointed he didn't have one. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. Like, what a threat. You think you can threaten me? Good luck with that. What do you think about co-sleeping with a 2-year-old? I have no opinion on co-sleeping, homeschooling, Montessori, breastfeeding till they're 8. That's a personal choice. What religion you are, it's all personal choices. If you're happy doing that, then do it. It's not a right and a wrong thing. It's just a personal choice. It's like religion or something like that. Oh, I don't let people in my live videos at all. I only did it once a couple of years ago when I first started doing these lives. And I had, where it was on TikTok, and I had like about 20,000 people in the live. And they just started talking about their business. They were trying to sell to my audience. I was horrified. And I was new. I didn't know how to get rid of them. Panicking. I'm here to serve people. I'm here to provide information and value. You know, not let other people sell their wares on here. They just wanted my audience. Oh, I was horrified. So I've never let anyone else into a live. Not to say you'd do that, but I'm traumatized. I was so horrified that they would do that. I thought it was so rude. And I said, I'm not here to let you, you can't sell to my, oh no, I'm just introducing myself. Yeah, right. If they're still watching, I hope they're hearing this. I was not impressed. Okay. Yeah, here you're asking me how to handle your mother-in-law. I get this all the time. So she keeps interfering in tantrums, even though you've said not to. The only thing you can say to her is, when you undermine my parenting, you hurt my feelings. If she doesn't respect that, she's a Badinsky and a lost cause, and just put up with her. You can't get rid of her. Just put up with her. Sorry about that. But yeah, if she doesn't respect your feelings, I can't help you. Like if my daughter-in-law said that to me, I would be horrified. I would just be horrified. Like I would never undermine her parenting, you know? Like, yeah. So if she doesn't respect that, there's nothing you can do. Nothing I can help you with. Nothing you can do. She's just a Badinsky. Don't tell her I said that, but I would never do that to my daughter-in-law or my son-in-law. I just wouldn't. None of my business how they parent. If they tell me to do something with their kid, I'm doing it. But if I'm babysitting, grandma's rules. You leave them, you never micromanage a babysitter or someone who's looking after your kid, unless it's with nutrition or something. Let them look after your kid the way they do. But when you're around, that's your kid. What's a Badinsky? A buddy, like butting in, Badinsky. Someone who butts into your business. Yeah, but think about it this way. What could they possibly say? You know, when you undermine my parenting, it hurts my feelings. But I'm just trying to help. It hurts my feelings. But I have been parenting longer than you have. You give it up. If they keep going on, it's useless. Yeah. My daughter, like I would never butt in. And my daughter, she's got a wonderful mother-in-law too. Like there's no way either one of us would ever butt in. We're here to support our kids and their parenting, right? Yeah, it's just not our way. So, because why would you want to hurt your kids' feelings? I just don't understand that. How is ignoring a tantrum and moving on, not giving into what they want? And moving on, not giving into what they want, because they didn't get what they wanted. If they're having a fit because you took a toy away, they're not getting it back. I don't understand your question. Nailed it on the head. Very appropriate wording. Yeah, you hurt my feelings. You can't argue that. You can't argue that. If you do, you're a bit cuckoo, right? You can't say, I'm not hurting your feelings. Like you can't, there's no appropriate, respectful comeback for that. And then if they try and fight it, you know what you're dealing with. So there's no hope. No hope. Just put up with them. Just go, yes, whatever. I never had anyone, I was pretty confident though. So I never had anyone tell me how to parent. Never. I never had anyone give me any advice. If they had, I just would have said, oh, alrighty then. And ignored them. I knew what I was doing. And even if I didn't, I don't want, it's just different. I don't know. Oh, by the way, if you're here, you're soliciting my advice, but in my personal life, I've never offered it when it's not solicited. There you go. Yeah, this comes up a lot. How to handle 3.5-year-old who screams and cries because of frustration, like toy blocks keep falling. That's like the same thing when they can't get a puzzle piece in and they throw it across the room. There's really not much you can do about that other than show them that you can't do it either or you mess up too. Because oftentimes they see you doing everything perfectly. So you could set the example that you fail too. I'm going to write that one down. I'm doing something for toddlers, parents of toddlers, and I'm writing down just a sec, things that are outside of the ordinary, like that one, frustration at not succeeding at puzzle or something. I'll put down. Yeah. So you show them, I can't do it either, and it's okay, and you don't get upset. Remember, they're watching you; they're not listening to you. So, and then just maybe try and say, well, let's try something else instead. But it's one of those things they'll eventually learn, but you can't teach them probably in one session. I don't know the age because you're asking me how to get kids to do what you want. I don't know the age. You have to put the age down or I can't answer it. How did you figure all this out? I started volunteering. I'm 63 now. So I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And I remember the daycare ladies asking me one day, they said, how do you do that? The kids want to be with you, but they listen to whatever you say. I was a leader. I just kind of, it was intuitive. I just knew how to do it. Plus, what 11-year-old volunteers in a daycare center? I was very motherly. And then I just ended up volunteering in hospitals, detention centers, psych wards, schools, homes. I got some clearance from the government to go into homes and support parents. I think it was just kind of my calling. And then I mentored troubled teens, and they're the ones who said, Lisa, you got to teach this to other people. It never even dawned on me to do that. And then, so years later, I started my business. I started my business in 2007. So yeah, but it was the teenagers who told me to start this business. Yeah. So there you go. I think a lot of it, and experience, heavily experience-based. Yeah, I put a lot of time into this. I was always, whenever kids would act out with me, I never blamed them. If a troubled teen or whatever was being rude or disrespectful around me to other people, they weren't usually with me, but with other people, I always thought, what am I missing? I was always trying to figure it out. I never just thought, okay, this is what we do. I always thought, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? So I always took full responsibility through their behavior, and that empowered me to really problem solve. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, it's all, I just self-taught. I invented all this stuff. Whatever I talk about, I came up with it. I've never, ever read a book on parenting or kids, or I don't know what anyone else out there is doing. Yeah, I think there's 3 things I've taught in my life that I'm very confident with. One is parenting, one is sewing, and the other one is fitness. Those are the only 3 things I've ever taught. And I would never teach anything unless I was super passionate about it and really confident. So yeah, and I think everyone's got something, and got a gift, something you can share with other people. I think you kind of almost have a right to share it, and you'd be amazed what people are looking for out there. You might think, well, I don't have any gift, but think about it. Oh, I remember this once. I was coaching this mom a couple years ago, and she was very sweet, very quiet. And so I was telling her how you play with kids, you'd be funny and all that. And she goes, it's just not me. She goes, I'm not like that. She goes, I'm very quiet. But you know what she was brilliant at was storytelling. And she included the person she was talking to in the story. And she just did it for fun. And so I said, well, do that with your kids. And she started doing that more. And she goes, wow, what a difference. Then she did it with me. She included me in a story. All I wanted to do was come through the screen and crawl into her lap. And I said, you've got to teach this. You've got to write this. You got to get stories down and teach people how to do this. I don't know if she is, but that was, talk about a gift that was not being shared. So I hope she's watching this. I told her then, I said, you got to do something with this. She was talented. Anyway, so everyone's got something you can share, right? Lots of stuff I couldn't share, that's for sure. Kids are easy for me though. I just understand kids. Okay, I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and you can look into coaching. I do have something coming up with toddlers. So if you have any, you can tell me, if there's anything unusual that you think that I might not think of, a challenge that you have with your toddler, I'd like to include it in this program I'm writing. But anyway, let's move on now. I'm going to go on to TikTok, and I am on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. Talk to you later. Come on, TikTok. Likes to start ads now. Come on. Here we go. Okay, this is Jen Smith on YouTube. My son is 4 and speech delayed and having a really hard time controlling himself and not hitting, biting, screaming, and says he wants to hurt himself, be mad, and be a bad guy. Please, how can I help him? Yeah, that's almost coaching. If he's speech delayed, is there cognitive delay also in there? Because they often don't go hand in hand. They can be speech delayed, but not cognitively delayed. So is he frustrated because he's not fitting in wherever he is? Yeah, you might want to look into coaching for that. Or, the boot camp course is just a really good way to set yourself up as a leader. And it might take care of that problem. I don't know. I'd have to assess the whole situation before I could give you any good advice. And that would be coaching. But like I said, the boot camp course is a good general thing to take anyway. And there's a whole bunch of information in there that you can use throughout the years. People ask me all the time, I thought we put it in there, but they say, when does that course expire? And I always say, well, none of my courses expire unless I do. So there's no expiration date on them. 65-minute tantrum too long? Not usually. No, they can go on for a very long time, but it depends on what you're doing. If you keep looking at them, it's going to go on longer. Yeah, you can look distracted, like maybe doing the dishes or something. And I don't know how old they are. Like if they were 1 year old, I wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't let it go on for that long. But if they're 3 or 4, I would let it go on for that long. It's like a bit of a waiting game. See who can win. Is the tantrum going to win, or is your leadership going to win? But there could be an exception there. Sometimes there's exceptions. Are they hungry? Are you meeting their needs? Do you play with them? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they in pain? Or, so you got to make sure that their needs are being met. This is Jen on YouTube. No, he's cognitively okay, but he doesn't listen and runs away. Well, that's the boot camp course. You might want to check that out. I always try and point people to the boot camp course rather than coaching, because also you've got all that reference material sitting there that you can use throughout the years. And itself, you can do it whenever you want, but you don't rush that course. It's paced out 5 weeks. You can lengthen it 6 or 7 weeks, but don't shorten it. It's paced out. I've been coaching now for 17 years, and I have paced out that course according to what works best with people, with parents. You start slow and you build up. My daughter just had a friend who had a baby, and she had a 10-pound baby. I've seen pictures of him. He looks like a 3-month-old. He's so big, tons of hair. And imagine 10 pounds. I think the biggest baby I ever heard of that I knew of, I think was 12. Not someone I knew really well, but it was someone I knew had a 12-pounder. Youch. That's all I was thinking was, ouch. She did have a C-section. I love your toddler tantrum course. I think my biggest problem is tone as well. Yeah, if you sound or look angry, they've just won, and they know it. Yeah, like you wouldn't say this to a toddler, but if an 8-year-old is arguing with you and you've already laid down the law and you've said 24-hour media blackout, not fair, I hate you, I would just go, whatever, and then walk away. If you go like this and you go, whatever, and you look angry, they just won. You're not a leader. Yeah. And leaders don't get upset. All discipline should be like a business transaction. There's no emotions whatsoever, but you play with your kids. Everyone asks me about discipline. Discipline's a really tiny part of all this. It's mostly about connecting with your kids, having fun with them. Fun is their love language. Get silly. One of my clients right now, when her kid's getting a little bit agitated and she can see things might go south and they're just a little bit moody or something, she gets a phone call and answers the kid's foot, uses their foot as a phone. And they love it. It just instantly lightens the mood. It instantly, learn how to have fun with your kids. Find your inner silly. Don't expect your child to find their inner adult. You find your inner 2-year-old, your inner 6-year-old, your inner 13-year-old. You connect with them in their world, not your world. That saying, I've heard this before, when they say, get down on their level and say, use your words. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What a patronizing thing to say to a child. Use your words. In other words, be more like me. Find your inner adult. It's so patronizing. They are using their words. However they're communicating, kicking, screaming, yelling, that is their words. Don't tell them not to do it. That is how they communicate. Once you're a leader, they'll learn how to communicate better, but don't patronize them. Use your words. Could you imagine if you were arguing with your spouse? Use your words. Nauseating. I'd go file for divorce right away. Okay. And it's the same thing. Kids just don't know how to articulate that. It's very patronizing and they pick up on that. They just don't know how to articulate that. But you do. If someone said that to you, calm down. Use your words. If you're all upset at them, could you imagine? How would you react? Would it make it better or worse? What do you think? Yeah, don't patronize your children. Oh my God, I used that. I thought use your words was supposed to be okay to say. I'm sure someone's teaching it, but I am not teaching that. I teach respect. I think it's very disrespectful. I think it's mean. Use your words, because what you're doing isn't good enough. You see? Ugh, gives me the chills. Okay. What else do you say then? They are communicating. You understand what the problem is. Why are you? Okay, I don't know the situation. There's different reactions to different situations. So I don't know when you're saying use your words. And they're usually getting upset when they're not getting their own way. You do not need to get involved in that. You've already said no. And once you've said no, shut it down. You see, you don't have to explain anything after that. I say it when I don't know the situation. Yeah, I don't know how old they are, and I don't know. Yeah, I've never, ever thought of a situation where I would ever say anything like that. Yeah, I usually know what's going on, so. Yeah, I could go in a million different directions with that, so. You try to help him. I'm going to be misinterpreted if I just say that's not helping because I don't know what the situation is. If he's mad because he didn't get his own way, that's not helping. Let him process not getting his own way. Let him have a fit. That's okay. You've already said no. You know that you should have said no. If you're being fair and reasonable, you've said no to something, or he's having a fit because you had to leave the playground. You don't need to explain that. You don't need to go on about that. Around in the store, I don't know. I don't know how old they are. So, yeah. I say, do you need a hug? And he's not that he takes that. I say, do you need a hug? Oh, I don't talk like that. I don't know the situation. Yeah, I don't talk like that. Yeah. Do you need a hug? In other words, should I validate this upsetness that you're having right now? Yeah. I know where you're coming from. I know the style that you're doing, but it's not me at all. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. It's my son was 3 years old. It was the second to last tantrum. And we were in the mall. He was just in a mood. Okay. They either have tantrums or they don't. My daughter never had one. I've never had one. It's just a temperament. So anyway, we were in the mall and we were just leaving. And we weren't leaving anywhere he wanted to go. I mean, there was no reason for this, but they don't need a reason to have a tantrum. So anyway, he had a tantrum. A loud, busy mall. It wasn't disturbing anyone. So I just pulled him off to the side, pulled out my nail file, and I stood there and just filed my nails. Now, I guess that me filing my nails, ignoring my kid was calling attention to myself, and I'm quite happy with that. So, all these young moms kept coming up to me. You should give him a hug, talk about his feelings. I'm like, oh, good. Keep going. I didn't know what they were talking about. But these grandmothers and moms with older kids kept coming up to me, and they were all saying, you know what you're doing. And I said, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And so, yeah, it's just experience tells you that this is what you do. Anyway, so I waited till he was done. As soon as he was finished, didn't last long because he knows mom's never going to feed that. Never. So anyway, he finished his tantrum and I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go. And off we went. And he was fine. Absolutely fine. The swing story is a better story for that. It's just a longer story and I've told it too many times. Yeah, the swing story. Have I got that in my tantrum course? I wonder. Just a sec. If not, I should put it in there. Just I'm writing it down. If I type it out and put it into my list in there, I'll never see it. So I got to have it on paper. How to stop fighting with my spouse. I'm not a marriage counselor. See, I'm the opposite. If I'm so upset and someone ignored me, I know how I would feel. Let's say you've just been arrested for speeding and you're fighting with them and you're upset as hell and they ignore you. What are they supposed to do? We're talking about usually irrational behavior that we're ignoring. A tantrum is irrational behavior. That's what you're ignoring. So yeah, I'm probably not for you, by the way. Probably better to move on. I've been teaching this for forever. Anyway, I'll tell you the swing story. Here's how a good way to handle tantrum and a lousy way to handle a tantrum. You might be doing the other way. Okay, so, and it is lousy, okay? Anyway, here's the swing story. I've told it a million times. I don't even hear myself when I say it. I've told it so many times. Okay, I'll try and switch it up and make it so I can hear myself. True story. My son was 2 years old, and we had a brand new neighbor in the neighborhood, and all the moms, the young moms, oh, she's got a 2-year-old yabbering. Oh, and she's got a little 2-year-old boy, and we're all excited to meet her. And I was the first one to meet her. I went down to the park, and she was there with her 2-year-old boy, and I had my 2-year-old boy. 2 moms, 2 2-year-old boys, 2 swings, and 2 benches. Okay. So we both arrive at the same time, and we're all excited to meet her, and we're all excited to meet each other. Hi, I'm Lisa, and she's, hi, I'm Sally, whatever. We're chatting away. As we're chatting, we're introducing ourselves. We're putting our kids in the swings, and both boys pointed to the other swing. And we said, well, let's just switch them. Who cares? We just wanted to talk, right? So let's just switch them. As we're trying to switch them over, they both start screaming and having a fit, tantrums, right? So they're just nuts. So anyway, here's what she did. No, we'll do me first. So here's what I did. I took my son over to the bench, and I sat him down, and I didn't say a word. And he instantly tried to run back for the swing. I put my arm out like that fast, and he sat right back. He knew mom would never let him run away. So he just took it, and he sat back, and he cried for maybe 2 minutes. While he's crying, and I've got my arm out still, I'm not looking at him. I'm not talking to him. He was getting used to this. He knew that tantrum was never going to do anything. It was never going to win. Anyway, so I'm looking at the trees, the birds. I'm just waiting for this to stop. It only lasted about 2 minutes. As soon as he finished, I said, oh, y'all done? Let's go back on the swing. It's about 2 minutes there. Okay. Here's the other situation. She took her son back to the other bench, sat him down. The whole time she's trying to talk to him. Do you want a hug? Let's talk about your feelings. If you just said, please, mommy, I would have. It's escalating because she's feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. She's fertilizing it, right? She's feeding it and having no idea she's doing this. And she's trying, you could see she kept looking at me. She thought she was proud of herself for doing all this ridiculous stuff. You need a hug. Mommy loves you. You're a good boy and all this. And he's just getting worse and worse and worse. Here's the worst part. It went on for about 20 minutes. My kid's swinging. He's starting to fall asleep on the swing. He's been on for so long. But I couldn't stop watching this. So I was trying not to look, but it was like a train wreck over there. Finally, her son stopped tantruming after about 20 minutes. This was the worst part. He gets the hiccup cries. He's finished the tantrum. Then she rehashed the whole scene. If you just asked nicely, I would have. Not only did she feed the tantrum, then she punished the calm. My son, I ignored the crazy, and then I rewarded the calm. He learned that as soon as I shut up, I'm getting back on that swing. Her kid thought as soon as I shut up, if I ever do, because she won't leave me alone, she keeps interrupting my brain pattern, trying to get out of this. Not only that, I'm going to be punished afterwards for 10 minutes. She gave him a lecture for 10 minutes, the mini therapy session garbage. Went on for 30 minutes. I couldn't take it anymore. It was torture. It probably would have been easier to have a tooth pulled out through a nostril than watching that. It was just a disaster. She did everything wrong. Anyway, and I saw her many times over the period of years, and it was just a disaster. But anyway, that's the difference. She was feeding it, talking about the feelings, discussing the tantrum, having the mini therapy sessions. Oh, it was a disaster. This poor kid, 30 minutes of hell. And my kid was back on the swing having a riot. What's the difference? I ignore the crazy. I reward the calm. Kids pick up on that. A tantrum is just a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. It's not a lack of understanding. They could care less if you understand them. They just want what they want when they want it. And that's it. Toddlers do not care if you understand them. They just want what they want. It's not a lack of it's not a lack of being understood. That's ridiculous. I know people used to say that. That's stupid. Doesn't make any sense at all. If they got what they want and they're not understood, do you think they care? They get ice cream, but you don't understand what they're saying. Do you think they give a crap? Happy as anything. They got the ice cream. You get it? Does that make any sense? You've probably already left anyway, whoever I was talking to. But you get the idea here? Yeah. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Which kid was happier? Which mom was happier? My son didn't have very many tantrums after that. He was starting to learn that they're never going to work. His brain was starting to process as soon as I shut up, I'll get back on that swing. Or mom's going to start talking to me again. It's not a sad crying. It's a mad, not getting my own way crying. You do not need to validate that. You don't need to validate every thought and every feeling and every emotion. A lot of my clients are child psychologists. They'll argue this with me. I always think I win. Maybe they think they win, but they hire me for a reason. So they end up doing what I say. But yeah, because they're trained that you address every thought and feeling and emotion. Not that. Not the lack of emotional control, not getting their own way. No way. No way. Yeah, anyway, got on enough about that. Okay. Okay, that's an autism question. Child on the spectrum, ASD, and they hit and scratch and all that, that's coaching. I can't answer that because I don't know your child's special challenges or special talents too. So yeah, each child with autism is quite unique, and we throw mud at the wall in coaching and see what sticks. Also, I need to know what's worked in the past and what hasn't. So that's only coaching. It's more of a specialty. I don't discuss autism here because I only discuss more general mainstream stuff. Autism is more of a challenge, but ADHD isn't. And ODD isn't even a thing. It was just made up to make moms feel better. That's oppositional defiant disorder. It was made up to absolve moms of any responsibility for their children's behavior. Oppositional defiant disorder. It's not a medical diagnosis. Okay. Putting a 2-year-old to sleep methods. No, I don't just let them cry. Check out my bedtime battles course. That's 2 to 8 years old. And yeah. My son is 3 and has been throwing things constantly. Put on the behavior board, which is completely free in the link above, and put down no throwing things except balls and obviously in games. But even then, be careful with that, except when we say it's okay. And then, it can be with balls or whatever. So just say no throwing things, and there's a consequence when they do. They'll learn. They all learn through consequences. So all of a sudden, if a favorite toy gets taken away or something, or he has to do a chore, that's where they learn. We all learn through consequences. We pay our rent so we don't get kicked out. We don't illegally park so we don't get a ticket. We don't steal groceries so we won't go to jail. You know what I mean? Like, life's about consequences. The sooner you teach your children this, the better. And then they just make good decisions. Like, I never told my kids what to do. They just made good choices. My son used to drive him nuts when I'd say this. I'd say, it's your choice. I used to say, if your good, life is good. If your bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. So I was going to teach them to make good choices. I never told them what to do. They knew right from wrong. And if they chose the wrong path, I'd come in I'd say, hey, that wasn't very good. Here's a consequence. Or else they'd come to me and say, I forgot to make my bed. How about no TV tonight? I'd say, that's too much. Just brush my hair for 5 minutes. I love having my hair brushed. So yeah, they were self-disciplining. I'm about 3.5 years old. So it's just respect. And play is their love language. I would say parents tend to overpraise and underplay. You can praise, but parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Let's say you got a 5-year-old boy and you say to him, you're wonderful, you're special, you're good looking, you're this and that. You can do anything you want. Okay, I'm going to go do the dishes now. You watch his face. He's like this. He doesn't give a crap that you just praised him. He could care less. The same 5-year-old boy, you say to him, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? Watch his face. Right? My superpower with kids was play and fun and humor. I played with them. I connected with them. And then they like me. And then they want to please me. And I don't take any crap either. So yeah, they like themselves when they're with me because I have fun with them. Fun is a superpower. Fun is their love language. Don't underestimate it. And you have fun in their world, not yours. Like, what are you doing? Can I play too? You look at that kid's face. Oh, I love your content. I found out I was pregnant yesterday. Congratulations. Part of me is going, I hated being pregnant. I wasn't good at it. I mean, it was exciting emotionally, but physically I was no good at it. Yeah. Congratulations. So it is exciting. It's all worth it. We all go back, right? I went back again. So it's worth it. But yeah, I'm just not good at it. Some women love it. I'm not good at it. How do you play with them? Oh God, I got a million ideas. Well, whatever they're doing, you just watch them play and you join in. You can shift and change it once you're playing, but especially with little ones, watch what they're doing and join in. Mimic them, sit beside them and play with them. I learned that when I was working with disabled children. because they'll do stuff that's just different. Even if they were hitting their head, I'd sit down beside them and hit my head just like that. And then they look at you. How do you get a disabled child who's self-harming to look at you? You mimic them. And then once they're looking at you, then you can hold their hand and do something else. And, so that's where I kind of learned this, you enter their world and then you can redirect and do other stuff. But yeah, find your inner silly. I've worked with tons of toddlers, and I've worked with toddlers who the parents said, oh, I'm sorry, they're never going to settle down. They're just lousy with other people. They're going to scream the whole time. I guarantee if I turn around and I turn back with this, I've got their attention. They look at me. They look differently. Find your inner silly. Connect with your toddlers in their world. Can't believe I did that. But anyway, yeah, enter their world. I don't force myself on them, but I just find something that makes them go, oh, she's different. And then you kind of got them, right? It's respect. I had a client, she was so cute, but she'd never played with her child. I can't remember how old. I think the kid was about 8. She'd never played with him. She says, I think we're just too much alike. We're both very stubborn. We never really got along. And she'd never played with him before. She takes him places and watches him play, but she's never played with him. And I said, you got to play with him, and she goes, all he really likes is Lego. And she goes, and I hate Lego. I've never played it. I said, you've never played Lego with him? I said, okay, you're going to have to. So I told her rule was if she yelled, her consequence was she has to play Lego for 30 minutes. So the next session she turns up and she goes, I didn't play Lego for 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh God. She says, I played for 3.5 hours. She sat down on the floor, which she'd never done before. And she started playing Lego. He curled up in her lap. And the whole time for 3.5 hours, he was rubbing his forehead on her, like here, on her chin. And they were playing. She'd never felt that way with him. She said, I didn't even know he loved me that much. Isn't that beautiful? So yeah, play with them. That's their love language. Think about it. If you were a little kid and a grown-up, your parent gets down on the floor and plays with you in your world, how does that make you feel about yourself? Don't you feel valued? You're not teaching them anything. You're just playing. You're just having fun. Just have fun with them. Do silly stuff. Hop around the house. I used to, every time I did laundry, all those underpants went on my head and I became the panty monster. The leg holes were my eye holes and I chased the kids around the house every day. Just silly. They loved it. And they're way more likely to listen to you because I don't know, it's just a connection. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. There's a wait list for coaching because I'm super busy. I'm hoping to take on a couple clients this week. I know I said last week I was going to. I don't think I did. Anyway, I'm just super busy. But anyway, hopefully this week I'll be able to. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow sometime. Happy parenting.